Now you are listening news from the USA. What is happening in this present time? Our international relations, internationally, energy group. We are looking to be. We will be in very short, great professional, but before do in signing an executive order. COVID and schools didn't say. So this first executive order, it prohibits federal funding for COVID-19 mandates, vaccine mandates in schools. Okay, that will meaning they want to clear that of the discrepancy. So any school that requires students to be vaccinated with main COVID-19 shot, then there is no more federal funding. So okay. Okay, that solves that problem. You are listening news from the channel, YouTube channel 3M Creators. Let us know what is happening around the nation, what changes we see, what changes are coming. Can I make one comment, Mr. President? Yes, please. As a father should have parental freedom to decide what action oppose to school system and govern for seeing upon the most, which is thank you very much. People wonder that very badly. Okay, with an executive order establishing the National Energy Dominance Council so that we will be chaired by the Secretary of the Interior, Mr. Badam, and Vice Chair, Chair is right. And so this will reduce cost with respect to energy, establish American independence with energy, and also unleash energy dominance. Good, thank you. And this is a big deal, and we are unleashing it to put it nicely. And I would like to ask, and Krish, would you say a few words about it often afternoon? Your President Trump wisely understood that under the Biden administration there was a war, energy into that war officially has ended in President Trump only one declared a national energy emergency because under the Biden administration restricting the production of oil and gas production still coming out when you stop holding lease when you take 125 million land of possibilities to an executive restricting the balance sheet of American, but today you is unleashed. The National Energy Dominance Council will be made out to other cabinet leaders and many more. Represent Trump's wise decision that we need a whole of government approach to unwind the Biden approach that had the war against U.S. energy. And now we need to turn that around 180 degrees Celsius and unleash that potential. We have got to unleash it from the Gulf of America all the way up to Alaska. We have amazing resources in this country on them. Many of these are under public lands or interior has 500 million acres of surface, 700 million acres of surface, minerals, critical minerals and offshore close to 2 billion acres, and that balance sheet makes is the biggest sheet in the world, and everybody knows we have 36 trillion in debt as a country, but no one knows how many went hundreds of trillions of dollars of assets asking in us to get the refund on that investment that we are going to Our prosperity at home will have peace abroad because with the wars that we have engaged in, your allies have been fighting over the past few years have been funded by the oil shales of our adversities. Also have now even encouraged China to only way to win, that is more electricity, and we have electricity too much intermittent, unreliable, and not enough down the base load reverse that is going to allow us to win. Important thing that we have to do relative to our future. So with that, I want to again thank you to President Mr. Energy Council and all Vice Chair and the Secretary of the Department of Energy. Thank you, Ekirji. Bedam, today it is truly a great day for our country. That and Secretary William laid out the so many other problems in the last 4 years. If you vote for more expensive, you make it less reliable, you make it harder to do business here and there for our consumers to pay their bills. With this fantastic action from our president, we now have the authority across the government to lead to these problems. And I'll start out with one specific right away. This morning I signed our first AG in export license substituting the origin action. The Commonwealth LNG project that will be on the Gulf Coast in Louisiana is now officially ready to go. This will be large construction project for American workers if you demand production that will ship overseas to our allies. Many more of those come. We are also working aggressively to roll back standards that have made appliances more expensive for Americans. From dishwashers that take too clean, but nobody likes that. That's about standing in the way. And with this President Trump and our new National Energy Dominance Council, there is so many things we can do to make American lives better, bring down cost and grow opportunities. And with that, I am going to kick it over the fellow member of the Council and Administration of the EPL, Lee Alden. Thank you, Secretary, and honored to be serving on the energy part of toward the great American comeback, and President Trump has made it clear that we want to be and to be doing our job to ensure that we are unleashing energy dominance. However, we can help that we are assisting in making America the AI capital of the world, that we are helping to bring back America auto jobs. This is the mandate of the American public, that the Trump mandate. It was clear, and the guidance from President Trump to me when he asked me thankfully for opportunity for us to be able to serve together in partnership to the unleashing energy dominance. This is the moment that we must meet to that, and it is important to note that the prior Biden-Harris EPA issued a waiver to California for tailpipe emissions. This was a rule that should have been submitted to Congress. Will have opportunity review act to make that way. That go away. We will do everything in our part to help the American people to make life in America more affordable. The golden age of American success is upon. You are excited about the last 3 weeks. That was just a taste of the main event, the entry to come the next 4 years being the greatest term in the history of the American presidency. With that, I would like to introduce in the free. Thank you so much. So first of all, thank you for the work on your dishwashers. We will put them in the dishwashers. We're not saving water. We are using more water. So thank you for your. But I am also joining the EPA. We have introduced the KFA standard. So we are looking at how much it costs for end users. They put gas in their car, and the Biden era standards are costing billions of dollars. You are in Texas, and the carbon credits which drive up the cost of the vehicle, and so we are going to remedy that, justify the cost of car number one differently. We are going to move towards the permitted process for the Texas Gulf lying deep. You are more energy in the help for the house, and it was now once bureaucrats got in the way, making sure we have great oil infrastructure in the country. Great thanks, great Howard Let me yes show the nanny state. You are feeling the end of the nanny state from stars made of papers to regulation and lastly harming Americans and holding us back to slow down our production. Manufacturing, we are speaking the Minister of India yesterday, we are reading that about energy. Dominance is going to go away. We are going to care about Americans. The Trump administration and the president cares about Americans and you are going to feel it change. You are going to feel the price of energy coming down. You are going to feel an explosively the golden age of manufacturing of America has always been there. It's just been stricted and regulation. That time is over. That time is over. Thank you very much. Secretary and Chairman Baram has been working on this so that expect to see is going to show people about how good the medical and so thank you very much Kevin and we are also working on a project that has been under wraps for 20 years. Everybody wanted it. It's been held up by the New York. It's a pipeline that will bring down the energy prices in New York and in all of the New England by 50, 60%. 70% it should have been done years ago. We will be speaking to New York and the New York actually the biggest beneficiary because their energy cost is very high. This will all of the governments wants this to happen. It's now going to happen. It's something that would rather not have to go imminent. We will do that if we want to have to so that again we bring down energy prices and knowingly nobody can believe but probably 50 60% maybe even more than that and a lot of go out and cut down a tree. It's really this done and we can move it done once anyway from 9 to 12 months. If you can believe it is going to go very rapidly. The other thing I would like to mention is 635 million acres that Biden so viciously took out of our new words. If you look at it, talk about the networks. They are destroyed our networks. You are putting it back. It will back as of this afternoon. Doug put the millions and millions of acres shared. He just handed back everybody the executive orders by President Biden and it wiped out these. President Trump signed an executive order instructing me as the Secretary of Interior to urban that van and do those are back on the balance sheet. Okay, sorry, which one is the 625 million further? The states further anything 625 million acres, see the size of the 148 that back on the there now. President Trump cares about the American people. He knows that Washington bureaucrats from the we are going to make sure that we get a return on the investment of money that we took off our balance sheet and if you see at the balance sheet it was incalculable. Nobody ever seen anything but an administration. You just wiped it out 635 million acres, which if you sit down and look at right, the major part of the ocean and he just gave it away and took it away unfortunately it wasn't done with Congress or anything and we did it nothing and very abbreviated very and very legal procedure that it's now back on our balance sheet is back as part of they did was so unbelievable thing to do. Also, they mentioned dishwashers and sinks and showers and the whole thing. You are restricting. You have many places where the water they don't know what to do with it. What people sink and water barely comes out. They take a shower and unnecessary restriction and Basically, I think everybody was happy, and then these people came in and they restricted it again, so approved by the Congress in addition. We'll get it approved by Congress, so for 4 years it will to get it permanently taken care of, and again very environmentally friendly. But we want to be able to, when somebody turns on a sink of a wash the air dishwasher, and there is barely enough to, there is no water, and you know that they do press the button 10 times, they run it 10 times, so it ends up working on that. And where we are working with energy and rules. Biden administration inside of the EPA, we are overhauling the water essential standards that are there people to bring down cost of living and combat inflation and just pursue common sense goodwill. Well, we have more oil and gas opening up again, and you know we get President be able to do it, got it. And the first week in office, the Biden administration determined that biggest, the probability bigger than Saudi Arabia. We don't know that, but it's the size or bigger, and we hit gold, and I call it liquid gold, but we hit the terminated it, and we were just ready to start utilizing it. This could take care of all of the issue energy wise, and we're close to Japan. In fact, Japan wants to go beyond partner for doing the pipeline going right into the ships. So you expressed the tremendous interest, so did the Prime Minister Modi of India. And just in closing, both Prime Minister Modi and the Prime Minister of Japan, both very, how good people. They said we couldn't make deal, we could get wondered that make a deal to get any energy from the Biden administration. They just wouldn't know nobody to deal with. They were very happy that we are here, but we are going to really benefit of taxpayers and our thank you. Is everybody for coming from Vasible? This is really going to be energy dominant. We are going to be energy dominant like but nobody else. This even going to be producing for all of the AI plants. You know they need and double the electricity at least that we have right, that we have all over the country, just for AI to do right and to win that, for which we are leading by a lot. Because last few weeks we are leading to we have to double our electricity needs just for AI, and it doesn't include the other technologies. So it is a real honor to sign on this. Going to also to be doing that and make that whole situation, bring that back into reality, and it very quickly having to do with cars. Thank you very much. Meeting no, yesterday was very big. Reciprocal tariffs was very big, and I explained to the Prime Minister India Modi, very good man. His tariffs are very high. India's tariffs are among the highest, and I know that just the highest. There are others high, but no much higher. I said no. You charge us, we charge you. It very going to. You can go and as high as you want. Whatever you charge us, we charge, and we make it here too. But that's the way it is. Tariff, I told you, is a beautiful word. What most beautiful did it make any pledges, dollars you had certain BRICS nations. I think that speaking, they are going to go to do anything under $90 that include China. Oh, I don't even know that they nation to get together to try and play cute. And I said we are going to put 100% tariffs on every one of those nations. And at the mere thought of saying broken up, the idea has no longer sailed for our wanted to undermine the dollar. Six nations got together. They want to undermine the too well not going to happen, and we are getting along with a lot of nations now. Frankly, there is a lot of respect for them. United States, we have regained our the respect that we should have, and we have also done things to country, and we are energy dominance, and it's going to be environmentally clean, environmentally wonderful, and taxes will be very reasonable. Based on there, we are going to make more money than anybody else. Anybody else. This is clean energy, very clean, beautiful energy. We are lucky. We have it. Call it liquid gold under our feet, and we are going to utilize it. So, a very talented group of people behind me. This gentleman was the number one man in all of the oil industry. They said there is nobody like him, Chris, right? And you know, Doug actually made a tremendous fortune in technology and said, I'm going to, he loves this state of North Dakota, and he did, and he made it energy powerful. He's, I think, your energy, your technology, but what do I know than this guy? Everybody knows him. He has been done a fast study on transportation, and he knows once he's learned a lot. He's really been great, and Howard that has, well, it was wiped out completely, wiped out. Other than a few people left in Europe, and rebuilt the company into a better company, and Fitch absolutely one of the top companies on Wall Street stocks beyond studying. And he took that, I mean, he literally watched the plane go into the building, into the World Trade Center. Amazing a story that, along his amazing story, he was delayed because his wife insisted that he finally, after he has to take his child to school, so he took his child to school to would have been in building 6,000 in the morning. That is the bus business right now. A lot of your child, a lot right, but in this, why his wife insisted that he to take his child to was horrible. What kind of father was he? Oh, he okay, he will do it, and he took, and he was there driving down at 843, whatever the time, so was down the west side ways, and he saw the plane go to the side of the building. He said, wow, he occupied the top three floors of the World Trade Center of the one building of the World Trade Center, and happened there is a loss. 100% of the people in that, you always, whole company was there, and he rebuilt his company step by step over years and became bigger and stronger, and he gave tremendous amount of the profit to the families of the people they died, which he did how to do, and now he working with us in that word. They know Howard Nick very well, and I am honored to have the running commerce. He is going to incredibly was a great lawyer, a great congressman, very successful person. Both has a lawyer and a congressman, and he knows a lot about the environment, cares about the environment, and we are lucky that we. I was very happy that you joined, and he was right from the beginning with me and Kevin. I said, we know he is. Everybody knows Kevin, and it's fantastic, and your Lindsay, you and your team are incredibly job you have done, and we are really appreciate. Thank you. Doing very well, fantastic. We are knocking this out. And do you have a question? Because my interest in growing up on the Texas Gulf Coast, natural gas and that LG, that potentially for like new jobs or growth in the area of I mean the country of Louisiana Southeast depend on attention is simply tremendous. 20 years ago, the United States was the biggest importer of natural gas in the world, and we had natural gas prices 2 or 3 times higher than they are today. But that self-revelation and great entrepreneurs in Texas and Louisiana and across our great country, we are now today the largest net exporter of neutral gas in the world, and so much of the world depending upon natural gas has been for 50 years. We were the driver of that, and then we paused, we stopped our ability to grow natural gas exposed both the Japanese government and Indian government expressed great distress about that the government account on energy importance from the US and we may just change our mind. So I think they didn't say America happen for business. Yes, we have the energy, we have the people opportunities, immense opportunities. So you in the oil and commitments that are lifted up by that more production here, and as we produce more production at scale, not budget, allow us to export utilities comes down the cost for our domestic consumers as well. You are you that are thank you Brian, and I will stay this that this all started 8 years ago when I got excited that we are going it now. They became number one in oil and gas by far, and we were number three, even number four toward you. We were left, we are number one by one, and they pulled all the whole vehicles and went back to my plan. And what the surprise is that I already disrupted, but it were going to take no, it's going to be amazing, and we are also very powerful, clean, clone. We have more coal than anybody. This is a beautiful clean coal that McLean is opening. A coal plant, a month of Germany is now returning to collapse into very powerful. It's probably the most powerful source of energy in electricity and other things, and we are going to utilize good, clean, beautiful coal and oil, gas. We have more than anybody of everything, and we are going to take advantage of it. And I appreciate everybody being here can ask you, sir, about much senator. Secretary had thought his confirmation. We got him the processes and overseas. His said it was a rookie mistake that your secretary had to outline that would be membership or not or goes. And then I haven't heard that. I mean, Rosal is a very good friend of mine and Peter especially has. Don't look at me, tell you something I had. I was you aware of this integrity that was going to generally speaking. You generally speaking, I was will speak to Rosal, I'll speak to Peter, I'll find out Mr. Energy does not include window all forms of energy. Yes, institution pipeline in New York. You is that is the get to for years, and what it means is for New York, updates New York, and even everyone in New York, also other states, but in particular New England, and that New England will now, I think, will cut the energy prices and big cuts in New York too, but cut the energy prices later, and we have permits. I think we have everything we need. How do you imagine they wanted to? Because the energy prices will come down. So New York, it's a great thing for New York. Everybody wants to. He will meeting in New York and the other government too. We can have built in about 9 months. Let's build pretty close to 9 months. It's all over. We have most of the permits, almost all of the permits and on the dominance today. We have also prioritized trade balance about steel tariffs. I mean, they put 20,000 feet steel and balance. That is, there are possible taking about steel and aluminum steel to the steel. I saved the steel industry in my first term by putting on tariffs because China was dumping massive amounts of steel. Others also, but mostly China, and I worked very substantially tariffs from China. No other president taken up. It's literally haven't got 10 cents from China, not 100 billions of dollars from the China, and understood it. But the dumping stopped, and had I not done that, you would have no one steel mill operating in this country, and we need steel. We need steel. I mean, there are one thing you have to say, and steel invasion of the term of military, etc. So you may it's going to be very strong. I think it should go back to being really powerful. We saved it in I mean, we were talking about still last week. We still um, very probably. Good morning, brothers and sisters. All of you are present today for listening 3M creators. All my brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, teachers and trainers, professors and professionals, the most honorable present Prime Minister Modi ji, respected ministers and doctors, honorable advocates, advertisers, administrators and advisors, doctors, directors, all my dear friends, I heartily, cordially welcome all of you. It is really nice time, nice place, nice action that we are admiring our Indian cultural values in the form of unity and diversity. So our country is one of the biggest country with its spiritual values. It is known by its spiritual values. So spiritually, politically, economically, socially, constitutionally, from all the angles, we have to appreciate our nation in the form of unity and diversity. Let us go through some important aspects of our country, what changes are being come done today uh, by the journey of our forefathers, free thinkers, and national, international leaders. What changes we observe here and around the world. Let us see, let us listen for appreciating its great remarkability and reputation that we see at the world level. At the world level, India's reputation is growing by establishing meeting with the godfather of the world as Mr. Trump, who addressed worldly people for reuniting their nations. Modi, Trump agree talks for trade pact. See it later this year. News from New Delhi as Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Donald Trump met in the White House. Delhi and Washington sent clear signals Thursday of their resolve to address the issue of tariffs and get down to business quickly by starting talks for a trade pact by fall this year. The US also asked India to buy more oil and gas, promised to increase military sales this year onward and eventually provide the F-35, F-35 stealth fighters. It also said it had approved the extradition to India of Mumbai terror attack accused Tahabur Rana. The direction for an early trade agreement means that negotiators have 7 to 8 months when Trump is expected in India for a summit of the Quad leaders. Japan and Australia are the two other countries in the grouping. This is the first time deadline for the bilateral deal. The deal was being negotiated in Trump's first term but could not materialize. Trump, who has noted the trade deficit in India's favor, said they have reached an agreement that includes India importing more US oil and gas to narrow the trade deficit between the two countries. Modi said the US and India have set a target of doubling their bilateral trade to $500 billion by 2030. We have set ourselves the target of more than doubling our bilateral trade to attain $500 billion by 2030. Our team will work on concluding very soon a mutually beneficial trade agreement. The two leaders also decided to renew 10 years defense framework. Trump said, starting this year, we will be increasing military sales to India by many billions of dollars. We are also paving the way to ultimately provide why gas rather than oil could be route to raise India's energy imports from US. January to November 2024, India imported 5.12 million tons LNG from US, 20% of overall LNG imports. From New Delhi, India and the United States have agreed to take steps towards making Washington a leading supplier of oil and gas to India, which could help bridge the trade deficit between the two countries. US President Donald Trump said after his meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Washington Thursday. Trump added that the US will hopefully be India's top oil and gas supplier. India is already a significant buyer of American oil and gas. The US is India's fifth largest supplier of crude oil, and although its market share has been in low single digits, Washington is also New Delhi's second largest supplier of liquefied natural gas after Qatar, as per India's official data. Experts say that while ramping up LNG imports from the US would be relatively straightforward from a commercial perspective, that may not be the case when it comes to oil imports. Sources say that Indian refiners would be open to buying more US crude. In doubling bilateral trade to $500 billion, Delhi will have to pick up threats from Trump 1.0. US President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday announced plans to sign a bilateral trade agreement by the end of this year and double total bilateral trade to $500 billion by 2030. The India US joint statement said Modi and Trump are committed to designate senior representatives to negotiate the first tranche of a mutually beneficial multi-sector bilateral trade agreement by autumn 2025. The joint statement said the US welcomed India's recent measures announced in the Union budget to lower tariffs on US products of interest such as bourbon, motorcycles, agricultural products, and medical devices, among others. Trump for reciprocal global tariffs asked team to ready plan April 1st. Andrea Shalal, David Lauder, and Jeff Mason from Washington says US President Donald Trump has tasked his economics team with devising plans for reciprocal tariffs on every country that Texas that taxes US imports, raising the risk of a global trade war with American friends and foes. On trade, I have decided for purposes of fairness that I will charge a reciprocal tariff, meaning whatever countries charge the United States of America, we will charge them no more, no less, Trump told reporters in the Oval Office on Thursday. Trump signed a memo ordering his team to start calculating duties to match those other countries' charge and to counteract non tariff barriers such as vehicle safety rules that exclude US autos and value added taxes that increase their oil. Thursday, directive stopped short of imposing more tariffs, instead kicking off what could be weeks or months of investigation into the levies imposed on US. New 10 years partnership framework to F-35s to Javelin missiles, major boost to defense ties from New Delhi with their strategic cooperation straddling sectors from defense to high tech. US President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched a new initiative, the US India Compact, catalyzing opportunities for military partnership, accelerated commerce and technology for the 21st century to drive transformative change across key pillars of cooperation. Under this initiative, they committed to a results driven agenda with initial outcomes this year to demonstrate the level of trust for a mutually beneficial partnership, the joint statement said. Second set of deportees from US to land in Amritsar today. From Amritsar, a second aircraft carrying 119 Indians deported from the United States is set to arrive at Amritsar Airport on Saturday, with most of the 67 passengers on board hailing from Punjab. Another flight carrying deportees is expected on February 16. It remains unclear whether a US aircraft will bring the deportees or if the Indian government has arranged a flight to bring them back. On February 5, a C-17 aircraft carrying 104 Indians landed in Amritsar, largely with passengers from Haryana, Gujarat, and Punjab. Sources said the second group of deportees, unlike those on the first flight, will likely not be changed. The Union government had faced criticism over the treatment of passengers on the initial flight. The alleged dehumanization of the deportees had led to the pandemonium in the parliament. Adani bribery charge in US. Prime Minister says leaders don't discuss individual issues. India US to work together on key areas as Biden era initiative renamed. Climate mitigation, renewable energy find no mention in joint statement. India US announced plans for Quad initiatives. News from Mumbai, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said individual issues are never discussed when prominent leaders of countries meet. Responding to a question if he had discussed with US President Donald Trump bribery charges that the US government had leveled against Gautam Adani, one of the richest businessmen, person in India's person in India, India is a democratic country, and our culture and philosophy is Vasudeva Kutumbakam. We consider the whole world as one family. I believe every Indian is mine, Modi said. Two prominent leaders of two countries never discuss such individual issue. The Prime Minister said Modi was asked if he raised the indictment of Adani and his key associates in a New York court over his involvement in an alleged bribery scheme at a press briefing at the White House. Challenge this time, narrow the gap, need to get things done fast. On trade, ambitious agenda, annual trade target of $500 billion, time to negotiate a deal by autumn to time with Trump visit. News from New Delhi defying the traditional skepticism and more recent anxiety about India's relations with the United States Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Donald Trump outlined an expansive agenda for deepening the bilateral strategic partnership. The personal chemistry between the two leaders and the broader convergence of Indian and American strategic interests has set the stage for resolving difficult issues and making advances across a broad range of areas. Modi and his team were quick to recognize the historic changes unfolding in US domestic and foreign policies unleashed by Trump and finding ways to seize the new possibilities emerging in Washington. While Modi has been quick, his challenge lies in galvanizing the sluggish Indian bureaucracy to turn the new American opportunities into concrete outcomes. Success also depends on the government's appetite for reforms, with President Trump set to visit India later this year to attend the Quad summit. The two sides have given themselves a few months. Canada's biggest gold heist suspect living on Chandigarh outskirts. News from New Delhi, Chandigarh. The former Air Canada manager, 32-year-old Simranpreet Panesar, who is facing a Canada-wide warrant and is wanted by the Canadian authorities for his alleged role in the gold heist of over $20 million, the largest in the country's history, is living on the outskirts of Chandigarh in over a month long investigation. The Indian Express, in collaboration with the CBC News, the Fifth Estate, Canada, tracked Punisher, who is found living in a rented accommodation with his family, including his wife Preeti Punisher. A former Miss India Uganda, a singer and an actor. Preeti is not believed to have been involved in the heist. Preet, Preet Punisher's legal team is contesting his case in Canada. The gold heist dates back to April 2023 and saw 6,600 gold bars weighing 400 kilograms of pure gold and about $2.5 million worth of various foreign currencies stolen from Pearson International Airport's cargo compound shortly after arriving on a flight from Zurich. Preet is leading a normal life, helping his wife's and family's business affairs, while Canadian authorities are looking for him and waiting for him to turn himself in. The Indian Express met Panisher at his residence, but he declined to speak on record. Citing legal reasons, one of his neighbors said they learned that Preet Panisher was involved in some monetary dispute in Canada, but were told that it was over. Preet, who was living in Brampton, Ontario at the time of the heist, was the one who even led police on a tour of the cargo facility before the police suspected his alleged involvement. Soon after, they moved out of Canada, leaving the investigation officials clueless on his whereabouts and came to India. There were reports in June 2024 via statements of his lawyers that he would turn himself in, but it did not happen. Queries were sent to Preet in India and his lawyer in Canada. Preet declined to comment, citing his family safety and legal reasons. While his lawyer did not respond to the queries sent by the Indian Express, the Peel Regional Police continues to conduct an investigation into the gold heist titled Project 24 Carat. The documents related to Peel Regional Police's investigation so far revealed that over a period of 1 year, 20 officers from the organization worked full time on his investigation. The task included surveillance, interviewing investor and affiant, video canvas tracking the truck's journey in which the gold bars were allegedly transported out of the cargo terminal of the Pearson International Airport, Toronto, lasted 4 weeks and spanned over 28 kilometers and three different jurisdictions. The documents state these include police briefing transcripts and minutes of police board meetings. The documents reveal that the officers worked 28,096 hours and 9,500 overtime hours to investigate this case. The investigation is still ongoing. Currently, there are a total of nine suspects, including Panisher allegedly involved in this case. Parampal Sidhu was another employee who was working at Air Canada at the time of the heist. Now let us go through region. Economic census 2025 to 26 to start in April. Shimla DC says from Shimla sets 2 month deadline. High Court orders action against 4,000 illegal constructions in Gurugram's DLF city. Notes local administration involvement in allowing land mafias to construct such buildings. News from Chandigarh. Punjab pilgrims on way to Ayodhya meet with accident. Father of father of two young kids among two dead. News from Ludhiana. Vikramaditya HP's dissolved Kong unit to be reconstituted. He shared Pratibha Singh had suggested names to party in charge Rajiv Shukla in Delhi. News from Shimla. BBMB tells chief engineer of Nangal Dam to others to resume their duties. News from Shimla. Himachal Pradesh government confers medal on 76 police personnel home guards. Shimla. Bards Bhadrangao Tunnel PWD. Minister inspects construction work from Shimla. Police bust smuggling racket, seized 30 kilogram heroin from Chandigarh. Now let us go through news in detail. A new compact with emphasis on self-interest, flair for deal-making. Modi and Trump set India and US on a promising path. During Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Washington, India and the United States established an ambitious agenda to deepen their bilateral strategic partnership. Trump's emphasis on reducing the trade deficit, now favoring India, and the swift repatriation of illegal immigrants from India had cast a shadow over the relationship. But Thursday's summit signaled the determination to reduce differences and deepen the agenda of cooperation. The unveiling of a new compact catalyzing opportunities for military partnership, accelerated commerce and technology is likely to become the foundation for a high quality relationship between the two nations. For India, the challenge lies in translating the result driven agenda articulated by Modi and Trump into tangible outcomes, with Trump expected to visit India later this year. Modi's diplomatic agility in responding to significant shift in US domestic and foreign policy must now be matched by proactive measures from various ministries. Modi and Trump exhibited fitness in addressing the issue of illegal immigration. India agreed to repatriate verified illegal immigrants from the US, while Washington is now prepared to collaborate with Delhi to combat human trafficking by targeting criminal networks and facilitators. On the topic of legal immigration, an area of intense debate among Trump's supporters, the leaders acknowledged the globalized nature of today's workforce and the importance of facilitating the legal and sustainable mobility of skilled Indian professionals, students, and business people into the US. Trade, trade relations also took center stage, with Trump demanding urgent action to improve market access for US goods in India. His criticism of India's abuse of tariffs reflects broader critique of the global trading system, where other nations benefit from America's open market while restricting access to US products and services. As Trump prepares to impose reciprocal tariffs by spring, he has provided India with the opportunity to negotiate a fair trade arrangements in the coming months. The two nations have set an ambitious target of achieving $500 billion in annual bilateral trade by 2030, necessitating necessitating a comprehensive reevaluation of India's trade strategy, a need that has become increasingly urgent amid a slowdown in India's external trade and rising complaints from trade partners regarding its protectionist policies. In contrast to the challenges surrounding immigration and trade, Modi and Trump found opportunities to enhance bilateral ties. For instance, in the energy sector, India, a major importer of hydrocarbons, is poised to benefit from the US as a significant exporter. Both countries have agreed to strengthen cooperation in the nuclear energy sector, which is experiencing a revival. On defense, India is prepared to increase imports of US arms, and Trump is ready to review existing restrictions on defense technology transfers to India. The leaders also committed to expanding their technological cooperation to arranging areas such as artificial intelligence. In terms of regional security, they agreed to enhance their engagement in the Indo Pacific and broaden their focus in the Middle East. The potential for a new strategic compact between the two nations is underpinned by the convergence of Modi India First policies and Trump's America First approach, with a heightened emphasis on self interest and a flair for deal making. Modi and Trump may have set India and the US on a promising path. Mission accomplished. Prime Minister Modi and his team should be smiling on their way back from the US. The Prime Minister, the Prime Minister got a warm embrace from the US President and met key figures friendly to India such as Elon Musk, Tulsi Gabbard, and Vivek Ramaswamy. Trump, Trump refrained from embracing India over tariffs, though higher tariffs on the Indian products will likely soon kick in. The area of cooperation ahead are solid ones to deepen defense, trade, and investment, energy, and technology. The meeting between Narendra Modi and Donald Trump went about as well as it could. While the shadow of friction points was evident, it did not mar the visit. This is not terribly surprising because high-level meetings are carefully choreographed in terms of final outcomes, and discordant notes are suppressed or finessed. With Trump, there is, of course, always the risk of the unexpected, but the Indian side can come away with a sense that it was largely mission accomplished. What are the key takeaways for India? Joint statements are indicative of the priorities, and the biggest takeaways, unless there are secret agreements, it is always useful to look at what is upfront in a joint statement for clues. The statement features six areas: defense, trade and investment, energy, technology and innovation, multilateral cooperation, and people to people. In that order, it is safe to say that the first three areas are key. The Foreign Secretary's special briefing to the media more or less followed the same order in terms of the areas of agreement, though it was perhaps significant that in his remarks multilateral cooperation came last. significant because Trump's America is focused on transactional bilateral relationships and suspicious of or indifferent to regional and international partnerships. As a result, almost everything in the multilateral cooperation section was blameless and boilerplate. The big friction points going into the meeting were trade and immigration, India's large trade surplus on the back of the high tariff, and the status of illegal Indian migration to the US. Delhi can be reasonably satisfied with how both these were treated in the joint statement. In essence, the US avoided slamming India on tariffs publicly. The road ahead seems to be to find a way to reduce the surplus to a multi sectoral trade agreement to be concluded by the fall of 2025. As for illegal migration, the two sides agreed that they will aggressively combat illegal migration and the networks that facilitate it. The word aggressively undoubtedly reflecting US insistence, and the focus on networks being an Indian preference. At the same time, Delhi has come away with an assurance that the US wants to continue with visas for professionals, and legal migration. If India pressed the point about the mistreatment of recently repatriated illegal migrants, it was in private and it got no recognition in statements during the visit. A third potential friction point was the Gurpatwant Singh Pannu assassination case. Just as before the Modi Trump meeting, a senior White House official stated that Trump prioritized nothing more than the safety of every American. This was in response to a question on whether Trump would raise the Pannu issue with Modi. In his media briefing, the Foreign Secretary referred to the joint statement indication that both sides would deal with elements who threaten public and diplomatic safety and security, and the sovereignty and territorial integrity of both nations. This takes into account the US concern over the Pannu case and India's concern over anti India protests and separatist activities in America. Beyond the management of friction points, the visit was notable for three agreements. The first was a new 10-year defense partnership agreement to be signed later this year. As part of this, India will get the Javelin anti-tank missile, Striker combat vehicles, and board P-81 maritime patrol aircrafts. Plus, the US will co-produce AI-enabled unmanned systems of underwater domain awareness, not mentioned in the official statements, but featured in Trump's remarks, is also the promise to consider selling India the F-35 combat aircrafts. Secondly, partly to deal with the Indian trade surplus, the two sides have committed to increase Indian oil and gas imports from the US. The Foreign Secretary suggested the increase would be from about 15 to 25 billion dollars in the near future. Beyond this, India will continue to improve the civil liability framework to enable US help in building both large and small modular reactors. Finally, nested in the section to technology and innovation, beyond all the usual words on developing semiconductors, AI, biotech, and space cooperation, is an agreement to launch a strategic mineral recovery initiative to recover key minerals from heavy industries such as aluminium, coal mining, oil, and gas. Critical minerals are vital economic and military resources, and China is very well endowed. Modi's visit was both symbolically and substantively productive. Substantively productive. The Prime Minister got a warm embrace from the US President and met key figures friendly to India such as Elon Musk, Tulsi Gabbard, and Vivek Ramaswamy. There were no tensions over tariffs, though higher tariffs on Indian products will likely soon kick in. The areas of cooperation had a solid ones to deepen defense trade and investments, energy and technology. The Prime Minister and his team should be smiling on their way home, facing the weather. Latest edition of Global Climate Risk Index makes a strong case for building climate resilience across national borders. Last month, the World Economic Forum's Global Risk Report ranked extreme weather events as the second most difficult security threat after armed conflict and war. Now, one of the world's longest running climate impact indexes had quantified the toll taken by the crisis in the past 3 decades. More than 9,400 extreme weather events were recorded between 1993 and 2022, notes the latest edition of the Global Climate Risk Index. It reckons that floods, heat waves, and cyclones claimed more than 7,065 7,65,000 lives in this period. The survey, conducted regularly since 2006 by the international think tank Germany Watch, estimates that the economic loss due to these extreme weather events amounted to more than $4 trillion inflation adjusted. The reports the report findings are sobering for India. 1 in 10 climate casualties between 1993 and 2022 was from the country. It was the sixth worst affected country in this period. There are clear indications that the world is entering an unpredictable phase of climate change, says the report. The delayed onset of La Nina and its inability to cool global temperatures is the latest example of this phenomena. Last month was the warmest January globally, with the world recording average surface temperatures of 13.23 degrees Celsius, 1.75 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial levels. While all parts of the world are vulnerable to weather vagaries, the report sounds a note of warning to policymakers in the hotter regions of the world where heat wave impacts are felt. Most actuality, most acutely, climate change makes early heat in India and Pakistan 30 times more likely, the CRI points out. It lists the subcontinental neighbors among the top 9 heat wave prone countries. The picture pointed in the CRI is, however, not uniformly grim. It makes a special mention of climate adaptation projects such as Ahmedabad Heat Action Plan. However, the report underlines the inadequacy of global efforts in building climate resilience. In addition to the well known deficit in finance, it speaks of inadequate technology and transfers from the north to the south. For long, the issue of climate adaptation has been left to UNFCCC, anchored negotiations building safeguards against floods, droughts, cyclones, and heat waves are also Also requires engagement of other fora at the G20 or between neighboring countries. For instance, the intensification of the climate crisis makes such cooperation imperative. Future of fraud, future of fraud, deep fakes. In the UK university system might just be a warning of what is to come in digital interaction. The spectre of deep fakes is looming over the UK university system, and really a software product used by several universities in Great Britain to automate part of the application process is being haunted by what it has called the future of fraud. In the interviews, applicants are posed a series of random questions, and Raleigh's platform is reportedly used to screen international applicants as a part of issuing their confirmation of acceptance for a study certificate. A prerequisite for issuing student visas. Among other things, the system looks at suitability and the ability to communicate in English. That's where the defects come in. A small number of those aspiring to study in the UK have attempted to use deep fake versions of themselves to record their answers, but perhaps the fraud speaks of larger issues. A large-scale study by the University of Northumbria in 2022 found that accentism is widely prevalent in the UK. How an aspirant pronounces their consonant and rounds out their vowels then can be a real advantage or disadvantage at workplaces and university acceptances. Given this, an argument could be made that using digital avatar that resembles oneself is a social mobility prosthetic since so much of communication is now online. What is labeled the future of fraud might just be the future of digital interaction. The anxiety over AI driven avatar is understandable beyond the issue of university admissions and visas. It raises it raises questions about the future of truth and authenticity. Why do AI enhanced versions of people do to relationships, hierarchies, diversity? Dealing with these questions calls for a plethora of minds. If universities in the UK and beyond didn't care about accents and suitability, they might get the right people on board to answer them. Little England, Great Britain. Those protesting Bengali signboards in London must know they can't have both. Among those who call themselves English rather than British, only a third say the country's diversity is an important part of their identity. Among those who describe themselves as more British than English, the figure is two-thirds. The survey added, if you grow up in England as the child of immigrants, can you really be English? It depends on who you ask. Kurtas, salwars, imitation jewelry, golgap, jackfruit hanging from hooks. Is this Sarojini Nagar market? The thought may fleetingly strike you before beating before beating just as sudden a retreat when you see the prices. It's Whitechapel in London nowadays, known more for Jalfrezi than the Ripper, than Jack the Ripper. You will see one of the biggest mosques in Western Europe, and a bit further down the road, an underground, literally Somalian restaurant with old daily vibes where you can eat something biryani, ask you of a shared plate. There is the proverbial brick lane, and perhaps inevitably a fish and chip shop called Jack the Cheaper. In this cultural history, there is nothing particularly out of place about a sign displaying the local tube station's name in both English and Bengali. Near there, nor is there anything surprising about an MP from Nigel Farage's Reform Party complaining about it. Elon Musk sticking his oar in it is practically a given. On the surface, there is the old debate of integration versus multiculturalism. Should minority groups assimilate fully into the dominant culture, or can these cultures thrive alongside each other? But but what's interesting here is the deeper cultural politics underlying it, that of the British, or rather English, rights war on London. Think Londonistan had a couple more decades of anti-immigrant, anti-multi cultural politics, culminating in Brexit and the knotty question of English versus British identity, set against the nativist imagination, is London's historical reality, that of a bustling port city that has always hosted travelers from across the ocean, some of whom settled down from the legionaries and traders coming from the Mediterranean region, who rubbed shoulders with and Lombard merchants of the Middle Ages to the East India Company's Lashkars. There were those who played important roles in British society and politics, from William Caffey, the son of a formerly enslaved black man from the West Indies, and an English woman who settled in London and became a leader of the Caratist movement in the mid 19th century, to myriad Irish men and women of all social strata. Whitechapel and East London more broadly have their own history of working class Irish immigrants who came in the wake of the potato famine, as well as Eastern Europeans and Russian Jews, all of whom contributed to the melting pot before the Bangladeshis. The 19th century saw London transform itself from the mercantile capital of Napoleon's shopkeepers to a self consciously imperial city full of mushrooming monuments fit to bear the white man's burden. The detritus of empire is strewn all about today, and attendant on being an imperial center was a certain cosmopolitanism, as it was in Rome, Constantinople, or Delhi are that matter, so it was in London. After this came the great waves of post imperial migration that shaped the demography and debates of today. London has hardly ever been 100% white and English, so English nationalism seeks a white, vast, homogeneous London that never really existed. The imperial nostalgia that sometimes accompanies such nationalism conveniently allies imperial cosmopolitanism. Its contradiction: you can't have both Little England and Great Britain at the same time. This tension has a parallel in people's self identification, whether they see themselves as more English or British. A 2018 BBC survey found that 61% of people who described themselves as white were proud to declare their English identity, whereas the figure for those from ethnic minority groups was only 32%. On the other hand, three quarters of the BME, black and minority ethnic population, strongly identified as British. The English identity emerges as more exclusive, while the British identity is seen as more inclusive. Among those who call themselves English rather than British, only a third say the country's diversity is an important part of their identity. Among those who describe themselves as more British than English, the figure is two-thirds. The survey added, if you grow up in England as a child of immigrants, can you really speak English? It depends on you who you ask. Such an exclusive vision of the nation would struggle to swallow a multicultural British London. Therefore, the latter's history must be erased, its diversity smoothed out, and its many tongues cut out if it is to be the capital of England. Love in time of climate change. Let us go then, you and I, where the evening is spread against the sky to a place of low AQI. The Mosam, the Mosam is not, the Mosam is not a trigger for romantic love. It is part of the love itself, giving it dimension and sky. Thandi hawa, ye Chandni Suhani, like the opening lines of the Rig Veda, make evident our composition that our bodies and its neighborhood are constituted of the elements so does the recurrence of Masham in these songs from Hindi cinema up to a certain period. The same region children were named Ritu with its various suffixes. Even until the early years of this century, it was possible to imagine oneself in love and not think of the word Washam. At least once growing up with a soundscape that included Hindi film music, one met the word more frequently than words that were rarely used, than words such as boyfriend, lover, partner, like these words. The word Mosham too had traveled from outside the Indian subcontinent in this case, literally across Asia as wine carrying grain to rest against the mountains of our we-lagged landmass. This moisture and its behavior on the body, on the mind, inside the voice and other musical instruments would give to our music its vapor and personality like the angle of our bent bodies does to the resonance of our voices inside water wells. The romantic love is an integer of the sharav and valley between the elements, and emotion seemed as obvious as the curtain responding to the wind teasing it. ये मौसम का जादू है मितवा ना दिल पे काबू है मितवा. Whether it is the direct nature of the confession about the loss of control over one's heart due to the magic of the motion or the playfulness of coming to this seemingly inexplicable connection indirectly, as in बागों में बहार है तुमको मुझसे प्यार है because spring has come to the gardens, you must love me. It's, it's a chain of illogical consequentiality that goes back to the oldest relationship we know between the earth and the heart. The reason they are perhaps anagrams of each other. The nervous lover expecting constancy of the kind that they have been given by the force of gravity that keeps them from falling off the earth is bound to liken emotions with our decisions, with flux, with change, with fluidity. Its lineage of thought that goes back to the Rosa theorists, their recognition of changing emotions as the axis that makes and keeps us human. That is why that is why Kishore Kumar can sing about writing with air and air on air. हवाओं पे लिखते हो हवाओं का नाम. Listening to Lata Mangeshkar sing राहें न रहें हम महका करेंगे राहें न रहें हम महका करेंगे बनके कली बनके सबा with its emphatic motion koi ho, no matter what the season, we are led into the world of love, promised with Shakespearean conviction, the English poet who has no faith in brass, nor stone, nor earth, nor boundless sea, but believes that in black ink my love may still shine bright. One immune to motion, which in songs such as these is a metaphor to fickleness, for change, मौसम की तरह तुम भी बदल तो नहीं जाओगे मौसम की तरह तुम भी बदल तो न जाओगे. I hope that you won't change like the seasons, the fragility of a lover's hopeful plea in another song. The motion is not a trigger for romantic love, it is part of the love itself, giving it dimension and sky. ठंडी हवाएं चांदनी सुहानी. Like the opening lines of the Rig Veda make evident our composition that our bodies and its neighborhood are constituted of the elements showed us the recurrence of motion. Indeed, songs from Hindi cinema up to certain period, the same reason children were named Ritu with its various suffixes. The acknowledgement of this lineage of thought and feeling can be found summarized in Mahendra Kapoor singing नीले गगन के तले धरती का प्यार पाले डाफूल पेड़ों सुबह शाम धरती एंड सागर flowers trees the morning and evening. The earth and the sea are analogous to the invocation to Agni and Vayu, fire and air in the opening verses of the first Veda. Ratanandatam in the first verse of the Rig Veda, a Sanskrit word that holds in it delight and ecstasy, is achievable only through a dialogue and even drowning in with the elemental. It was this awareness One we take as given that Robert Frost must have been trying to summarize in us the right place for love. I don't know. Our complaint now made with a much bafflement as an impersonal sadness about how low its sweetness and translucence has disappeared from our cinema, where we implicitly blame a third person that is not really a person but a machine. The smartphone is perhaps related to the disappearance of motion from our senses. Notice how the Urdu word fija, notice how the Urdu word fija, which can hold in it a universe from air to the environment, had disappeared from our songs, is transferred from skin to screen, where we are made aware of it only through a language of numbers, the temperature and the AQI. How is one to sing of love then, except as parody? Let us go then, you and I, where the evening is spread against the sky, to a place of low AQI, और ये रातें ये मौसम नाड़ी का किनारा ये रातें ये मौसम नदी का किनारा ये धूल और धुआं Master of the Sea. Eighth Indian Ocean Conference is an opportunity for India and region to secure maritime supremacy. India, with its Indian Ocean partners like Singapore and Oman, is hosting the 8th Indian Ocean Conference IOC at Muscat this weekend. For ministers from around 30 countries in the region will be converging at the conference to discuss the future of this most happening region. Oman, the host, like India, has been a major sea farming nation and has maintained linkage with India for over 5 millennia. Both countries are strategic partners and work closely in many areas of development in the region. The 16th century Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan, after observing the calm waters of the Pacific, called it Mar Pacifico, meaning peaceful sea. The Atlantic and Arctic Ocean got the names from Greek mythology. However, the Indian Ocean derived its name from the historical and civilizational influence that India wielded on the countries of the region. Hind Mahasagar and Indian Ocean have been familiar names for voyagers and explorers of the great ocean for millennia. Discourse on the Indo-Pacific dominates the world today, but the Indo-Pacific is a geostrategic construct where big power competition is omnipresent. The Indian Ocean is a largely peaceful natural region connected by civilization and culture. Vast expanses of the waters of the third largest ocean in the world touch the shores of 26 countries. For many others, landlocked countries like Nepal and Bhutan, the Indian Ocean remains a lifeline. From the first millennium, merchants like many Graham, Chetish, and Nandis, and kings like the Andhras, Palwas and Cholas, Andhras used it to establish trade with the Arab lands in the west and ventured into the Philippines and other South China Sea territories in the east. Kautilya Arthashastras talked about the functions of officials like port commissioners and harbor masters, highlighting the importance attached to maritime activity in ancient India. Fahian, a Chinese traveler, wrote in 415 AD that the ship that took him from Ceylon to Sri Vijaya, present day Indonesia, had 200 merchants who professed the Brahmanical religion. The Indian Ocean made India the leading economic power in the first millennium. Its economic decline coincided with its decline in maritime power. In the second millennium, European powers like the Portuguese, Dutch, French, and British developed stronger navies and converted the Indian Ocean region into a colony. The British were well known seafarers, but they never bothered to build a strong blue water capability for their colony during their 2 century rule. This lack of attention to the seas sadly continued after independence too, with their governance giving greater priority to land-based warfare, completely neglecting the oceans and their potential for the country. Consequently, in areas like shipbuilding and naval vessels, India remains a laggard power in the last 7 decades. It ranks 20th in the global shipbuilding industry, holding a meager 0.06% market share. Interestingly, Interestingly, the first to alert India about the importance of the Indian Ocean for its future was a renowned diplomat, K.M. Panikkar, who served as India's ambassador to China and France. So far as India concerned, it should be remembered that the peninsular character of the country and the essential dependence of its trade on maritime traffic gave the sea a preponderant influence on its destiny. He argued in his book India and the Indian Ocean 1945. Sadly, though, his warnings fell on deaf ears. Indian leadership engrossed in the continental mindset failed to fully appreciate the importance and potential of the Indian Ocean region from the Persian Gulf to the Strait of Malacca. The Indian Ocean is the main trading artery for many countries in the world, critical supply chain routes managing almost 70% of the world's container tariffs through this region. More importantly, around 80% of India's external trade and 90% of energy trade passes through these ocean lines. It took several decades for the governments in India to realize the neutral goodwill that the country enjoys. In this region, once described as the British lack stated and started taking proactive steps to strengthen those bonds through events like the IOC. The global power axis has relocated to the Indian Ocean region in this century. The US and UK, with their Diego Garcia Base, and France with Reunion Island are already active in the region. China too joined them, investing heavily in spreading its influence. India under Prime Minister Narendra Modi nurtured the ambition of rising as an influential blues water power and the voice of the global south to that and the Modi government proclaimed an ambitious Sagar initiative security and growth for all in the region in 2015. The Indian Ocean is a crowded space today with vessels of all major countries crisis crossing its waters over the surface as well as under the sea. Important next generation communication networks proliferate the Indian Ocean through undersea cables managed traditionally by European companies but also of late erected by the Chinese communication behemoth Hubei, the region faces challenges like piracy, seaborne terrorism, climate challenges, human and contraband trafficking, illegal and unregulated fishing, arms running, poaching, and humanitarian challenges like rising seawater levels, evacuations, and disaster relief. Alfred Alfred T. Mahan, an influential geopolitical figure and a confidant of President Theodore Roosevelt, wrote more than a century ago that whoever attained maritime supremacy in the Indian Ocean would be a prominent player on the international scene. Mahan's comment is an important reminder to all the assembled leaders of the region at the IOC that the supremacy of the region must remain in their hands and they should be the masters of the managing the affairs of this region of peace. The mask of our children need. We need to equip them with the ability to walk around the trash. Sex violence, disturbing scene, language, graphic sequences, parental advisory. Today, every episode on a streaming platform comes with levels like these on the top left corner of the screen. This after an elaborate disclaimer that effectively and farcically washes its hands of everything you are about to watch. If you find anything offensive or demeaning, nothing is intended. It's all in your head. All this is under the rubric of freedom of speech. Then come Ranveer Alabadia and his band of brothers. The same person has interviewed leading politicians across all parties as well as celebrities. Clearly, everyone wants to be on his show for the size of his audience. So he, in an attempt to be funny, makes comments on children, parents, and sex, perhaps thinking that will sustain the millions who follow him or add a couple million more. In a discourse where everything is divisive, the reaction is on predictable lines. Those who support him say he's pushing the boundaries. If you don't like it, switch off, go to the next YouTube channel. There are many who say, what else did you expect? Then there are many who say these men have wrecked the foundations of a family's morality, lost in all this. Lost in all this is one key fact: our ability to navigate our way through mounds of garbage in our cities. We know how to do it despite significant gains made by Swachh Bharat in every city, every small town. There is unclaimed garbage on the side of the road. There are plastic bags and polybags at every tourist destination. We hold our noses, walk past it, drive around it, look the other way, get out as fast as possible. Can we do the same with the garbage on the information highway, on the trash that pops up in our Instagram feeds? It is politically incorrect to call content trash, but the fact is, Allahabadia's alleged joke was neither funny, at least not to this writer, nor provocative. Several comedians with much stronger and sharper humor have paid a cost with either FRAs or bans or cancellations. What is clear is that the team at India's Got Talent believes that you need to be more crash since that's what works. The content for their audience is clear. They also know that a joke told a second time isn't funny, but the way to get those views coming is by falling on the oldest tropes in the business. Perhaps they see a model in many of the new American stand-up comedians with their own shows on Netflix or Amazon who talk about orgasms, sexuality, their own sexual experiences, and even their anatomies. Thank you, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, students, scholars, teachers, trainers, professors, professionals, the most honorable President President Modi ji, respected ministers and doctors, directors, I heartily, cordially welcome all of you. Thank you. Nice to see all of you. Have a nice day. Thank you very much.